Welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. I'd like to welcome everybody aboard. How y'all doing out there this evening? It's been a great day for me. Did y'all get any rain where you live? Greetings, Laura L. Greetings, Maria. Maria. Greetings, Carolyn. Okay, tonight we're going to go back to educating individuals in the South. But I'm going to start out with some history of the concepts of the origin of the Constitution. And if you like, you can get your pen and paper and take some notes. Hello, Ryan Road. Glad you're here. So here we go. And this is by David Sinclair Bay. He put this together for us, and it's very interesting. And the reason why the Constitution for the United States of North America Republic has 7 articles, in case you didn't know that, which governs the trinity of the executive powers, the legislative powers, and the judicial powers, is because it was adapted from the principles of 7. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the principles of 7, but let me share them with you. Greetings, Wilma. The 7 days of the week. You have Sunday, which represents the sun. Monday, which represents the moon. Tuesday, which represents Mars. Wednesday represents Mercury. Thursday represents Jupiter. Friday represents Venus, and Saturday represents Saturn. Those are the 7 days of the week. The 7 cardinal colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. The 7 chakras: the crown chakra, the brow chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the solar plexus chakra, the sacral chakra, and the base chakra. And those chakras are the parts of the body. It's 7 parts that controls the different functionalities of the body. Like, of course, the crown chakra would be the head. Of course, the brow would be where the pineal gland is. And that's the gland that they call it the third eye. That when you're at your highest self, when you're in harmony with nature and man, and you're at your best peak, then you have what we call the third eye, which is the pineal gland. And then, of course, we know about the throat. And then we come on down to the heart chakra that governs the heart. The solar plexus, it governs inside where your organs, your major organs are. And then you have the sacral, which covers your spine. And then you have the base, which is at the bottom of the spine that covers your other, parts of your body. You should say your reproductive parts of your body. Those are the 7 systems that operates the body. Then you have 7 key notes in the musical scales. You have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. The 7 C's. You have the Black Sea, the Caspian Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, the Adriatic Sea, and the Arabian Sea. The 7 continents: Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, South America. The 7 virtues: faith, hope, charity, strength, prudence, temperance, and justice. Greetings, Jen Lynn. The 7 deadly sins: pride, avarice, luxury, wrath, idleness, gluttony, and envy. The 7 liberal arts. And maybe you've heard of the 7 liberal arts and wondered what they were. Perhaps you know, but I'm going to share them. Grammar, logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. Those are the 7 liberal arts. Greetings, Peep Gang. In the development of man, after the 7 stages of development in the womb and then birth, the first 7 years is the age of reason. That's from birth until you reach 7 years old. The second 7 years is the age of puberty, and that's from 7 to 14. And then the third 7 is the age of maturity, and that's up to 21. The principles of 7 were created by the grand architecture of the universe when she divided her 28-day cycle into 4 equal parts of 7 each. The 28-day cycle of the moon is within her, and that's our matriarch and our mothers. Greetings, Michelle. These are the principles of the 7 that operates civilization. The framers of the Constitution adapted the principles of the circle of 7, and agreed to operate under these principles in harmony with nature. Greetings, Ernest. So one thing that we learned as I was on my journey, because I must remind you why I'm here. I'm here to share my story and my journey when I wanted to know who were we before we were slaves. One thing that we learned is that life is really a cycle of life. And time, was given to us by man. Like the minutes, the seconds, the hours. But there was a time when we relied on the sun and the moon. And that's how we could tell time. And we knew it was high noon when there was no shadow. When there was no shadow. But man, in his wisdom, as he grew, he came up with the timepiece, and then he reduced it to minutes, seconds, hours. You know, right now we just went through daylight savings times in some parts of the United States. Here, we went back. We call it fall back and spring forward. I heard that they're getting ready to get rid of that system. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I was told. We've gone through so many cycles of life, and we've been called so many things throughout life. We don't know where we are today. It's really confusing for us because it seems like even though things have changed, things yet remain the same. It seems like we never get ahead. we never get along. And there's a reason for that. And I share that when I share silent weapons for quiet wars. Greetings, Teddy Franklin. Greetings, Damai. I hope I said your name right. But I started last week talking about this book. And some of you said, you'd like to hear a little bit more. I can't quote this book. I can read a couple of things out of the book. If you all want to talk about it, have questions about it, we can talk about it. But I'm really about us building, not destroying. So if you're about building, then you're in the right place. Because we have some work to do. We say the children are our future, but what are we teaching them? What are we giving them? What do they know, really? We send them to school and then we complain about the school system that undereducate our children. They do not educate our children. They undereducate our children. And what we have to do about that is we have a system that started in 1902. And that system has been in place ever since 1902. And so when you have a system that was designed to keep you out, how do you get in? We as parents, grandparents, guardians, friends, we have to help our children. See, everybody can't teach. And believe it or not, I'm not a teacher, and especially not with children. I would get to hollering and screaming at the kids so bad that they would forget what they knew when we started out. I'm a person that gets the children the help that they need. That's what I can do for the children. And then I can tell them what I know. But there's so much that we don't know that has kept us out of the race. A lot of people talk about the race of people, but there's only one race of people, and that's the human race. We've been plagued with what we call hegemony, and that's one group dominating over another group. That's what hegemony is. And they gave us the race colors so that we could be divided, because how do you conquer a thing? You divide it. And when you divide, then you conquer. It's written. And it's a fact. You see it happening every day. But I say, be an army of one, working toward a common goal. The common goal would be to change the way our children view themselves. We have more children because of the computer age and because of social media that are literally taking themselves out because of pressures that they receive on Snapchat, IG, TikTok, YouTube. And who's going to teach them if we don't? A lot of times our children don't really know how to communicate with us. And even we don't know how to communicate with them. So we kind of lose each other. We just give them a game or a phone for them to play with or do whatever they do. And then we excuse ourselves by retreating to the room. And never the two shall meet. There was a time when we were growing up, I know with me, being 64 years old, growing up, there was a time where we all ate at the table. And you had conversations with your parents, with your siblings, and everybody had to eat whatever was cooked. You didn't get to choose which meal you wanted in some households. Because I had a couple of aunties that if she had 3 or 4 kids, if they wanted 3 or 4 different meats, that's what she cooked. That didn't happen in our household. We was having chicken, that's everybody ate chicken. If we was having beans, everybody was eating beans. So everybody has a way that they grew up, and we get accustomed to that way. But what is the substance of our conversations? We love to pride ourselves on now we're more educated than ever before, but are we really educated? What do we know? Do our children come out of school knowing how to fill out an individual federal income tax return? Do our children know the simple principles of banking, opening up a savings account? They used to do that back when I was a kid. And then they allowed you to put money in. They used to do that. They don't do that anymore. But you learned a form of bookkeeping at an early age, because what you learned was adding and subtracting. You're right, Teddy. Knowledge is powerful. Thank you. Knowledge is powerful. And I like to try to spend my time sharing the little knowledge that I have before I leave this earth. My daddy always said after death, ain't no need of calling the doctor. So once I'm gone, you can't hear me. You will hear me, but you can't hear me. I don't know about any of you, but my mom is deceased and my dad. And, you can recall the things that they told you that, you heard them, but you didn't hear them, or you didn't quite understand what they were saying to you. Ryan said, as a kid, I rode my bike to the library, and that's where I spent most of my time. My kids view reading as a punishment, and that's something that we got to get them out of, because there was a time when they wouldn't allow us to read. We couldn't read at all. It was actually a crime, even unto death. And now that we can read, we don't read. And I think one of the best things that you can get a kid to read, and I don't even know if they have them anymore, but when I was growing up, they used to have the paper boy, and he would come and throw the newspaper. But one of the greatest documents a kid could start reading is the newspaper. And one of the reasons that you would start them on the newspaper, and even a little kid, you could just start them with where they used to have a comedy section. I haven't seen a newspaper in print in so long. I don't know if they still have that. But you could start them off in the comedy section because they can relate to the pictures and the laughter. And of course, you want to censor that, because today comedy is not comedy, not what we grew up on. It's a lot of weird things happening in the comedy world today. And so you want to be mindful of that as you let your children view them. But the newspaper will give them a vernacular that will help them, excuse me, as they mature and matriculate out into the world among other people. That's what the newspaper will do. Also, you can see how the people that run things think. Because so a man thinketh, so is he. And as he writeth, you know where he's coming from. Because the word is hidden in your heart. And when you write, you open yourself up to the possibilities. When you read, you can go all over the world and never, ever leave your seat at home. And you can do that on the computer. It's more visual. But when we have the visual compared to the imaginary, the mind, which is a terrible thing to waste. When we have not the vision See, we can imagine anything looking any kind of way. We can sit there and smell stuff that's not there. All because the power of the mind. All because the power of the mind. When we visualize stuff and see it, we limit our potential to go further. And so what we need to do is start challenging our children. Even if they don't have the paper book, which I think all children should have a library in their home. Ryan rode his bike to the library. I think you should now bring the library into your home. You should have at least 3 to 4 different dictionaries. You should have a Spanish dictionary. You should have an abridged dictionary. And the older, the better. Go to the older bookstores where people trade their books in. Yeah, that book reading is so fascinating. Yeah, some of the elders gave up on the young, but believe it or not, you're somebody's elder. So you can start with the little that you know or the lot that you know. It doesn't take Mahatma Gandhi, I don't mess the man's name up, or Confucius to impact the life of a child. You could just give them a little coloring book and sit down with a child and say, hey, let's just see if we can highlight the line and let's just see if we can keep the colors inside the line. And that's according to the age. Because even the little ones, you just let them, give them a coloring book and say, let me see what you can do and see what they do. You would be amazed. Children are hungry and thirsty for knowledge. We as adults ought to be willing to give it to them. Unfortunately, some of us don't have it to give. And that's when you rely on the people that you know. If you know some little children that's a little older than that child, then you kind of pair them together. Because one thing I know about little children, they're going to mimic the big child. They're going to do that. And that's why sometimes it seems like you can have a kid that's 9 and one that's 6, and the one that's 6 will seem so much more smarter than the one that's 9. And that is because you can train a mind at any age. It's what you put in it is what you're going to train it and what you're going to get out of it. What you put in it. And if you don't put anything in it, I guarantee you, you're not going to be able to withdraw anything out of it. And what that child becomes is maybe a problem for you and them in the future. You know, can you imagine the mother that has to go, the wife, the girlfriend, the sister, the brother, and sit in a waiting room and at the prison system? Could you imagine how the mother felt when she first held that baby? Or if she have to go to the graveyard, because some people do visit graveyards and put flowers on the grave and sit for hours wondering what could have been or might have been. Can you imagine that when she had that baby developing in her for 9 months, she had so many hopes and dreams for that baby? And when that baby came out and spent the last 3 months bonding with her. See, it's a 12 cycle period. It's a 12-month cycle period. 9 months on the inside, and those 3 months that you come out, you're bonding. That's what that is. And a lot of us, we don't take the time to do that. And as the kid began to grow those 7 years, that first 7 years, some of us as parents, we have more than one child back to back. And so that child gets kind of cheated out of their lap time. Because that's one of the things that, see, we've stopped being affectionate with each other. We stopped showing love. We talk love, but we don't show it. And we have to show love. It's actionable. It's not what you say, it's what you do that makes you a person that shows love and that helps build the esteem. Because remember, when we're talking about esteem, it's called self-esteem. So I can't give you self-esteem, but I can lay the foundation for you to build on and gain the self-esteem. And then you don't have to worry about how you navigate, because you'll have a foundation and you make decisions on your own all the time. So it doesn't mean that you can't, veer off to the left or to the right, but you'll have a foundation where you can come back to. And when you know that, then you know. I think that's Biggie, who says, when you know, now you know, then you know. I was also thinking about the making of a slave, because believe it or not, we still have the slave mentality. We still have the Uncle Tom Sambo mentality, gumbo mentality. And you should read Uncle Tom's Cabin. A lot of people think Uncle Tom was a bad person, but that's not true. Uncle Tom was actually the person that kept the people together. He was the person that gave the warning. He was the person that took the beatings for the people that they wanted to whip, that was weaker than the others. Uncle Tom did that. And Sambo wanted to take his place, being jealous, was made to whip him to death. And oh, did the people suffer as a result of that. And Dr. Claude Anderson goes on to tell us there was one that came after Sambo, and that was Gumbo. And he was really unhinged. And of course, he got Sambo killed. These stories are real stories. They're really real. And we can see them playing out today in our society in all walks of life. We see the disparaging and treating of us as a people and other groups. And again, we think it's racism, but it's actually hegemony, because the other groups get mistreated as well. They really do. But they don't make it the focal point, and they don't put it in the forefront and make it the evening news, because there's supposed to be this assumption that your children, your adult children, because we don't have a nationality. And when you don't have a nationality, you're considered a stateless person. We're the only group of people in the world that has been denied our nationality and our birthright. And we spend most of our time fighting each other, taking each other out, instead of building and making a difference. Today is election day. And I hope those of you who believe in voting went out and voted, especially in your local elections. Very important in your local elections. Maybe, maybe not. Because one thing that I learned, and Dr. Claude Anderson speaks to this as well, and that is that the politician is for hire, for lease, or he has to go. Because they're only going to look at the interests of the people that actually fund them, that actually pay them. And if you just look at it, it makes some sense. You're going to always cater to your supporters. And then we're always going to be the minority in number based on the way they have the race structure set up. Black and white are legal statuses. They're not people. They're legal statuses. And that's the basis for black and white. But just imagine if it was a level playing field and we were just people, and then we would just vote, and the people would just work for the people because it's the right thing to do, to work for the people. It would make a difference. Peep Game. Let me see. Ryan was talking to Peep Game. Let me see. He said, in my city, the BS is encouraged from the elder parents. After 2 or 3 generations of that, it's out of control. And that's so true. Ryan, it's like that in my city too. It's like that everywhere. And where we, to me, fall short, we put everything on, we call it religion and generational curses and things of that nature. But I call it pathology. And I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney nor a paralegal, but I read a lot. And I don't know everything, but I know enough. And when you start reading, that's why reading is fundamental. And we need to get back to reading. And we need to get back to reading paper, books, documents. One thing about being in elementary school, they did teach us, and Lord knows I don't remember it. The Dewey Decimal System, I think that system is gone. For as, the library, how you used to look up books. I was confused anyway, but they did have that system. Okay, let me see. Why doesn't the black vote have identified lobbyists? Because we don't have money. It's all about money for real. And if we don't, we spend our money on, to me, not all of us, but most of us, the wrong things, because we were not taught the value of exchange. And I want to say greetings, Wab Funk and King Kush. Greetings to you guys. Let me see if I missed somebody that I did not greet. Yeah, I think that we missed the mark because we didn't understand that we've never seen money. Greetings, Regina M. I think I spoke. Yeah, we do. We live a slave mentality. And we won't get out of it. And that brings me to another document that I have for, I went and I wanted to read from this book, but I don't really want to just read because this book is very deep and it's very good. I think you should purchase the book. Very good. And this is The Education of Blacks in the South from 1860 to 1935. But as I said the other day, it's not good enough just to acquire a lot of knowledge. We got to not only acquire the knowledge, then we got to learn how to apply the knowledge. And then we got to be able to share the knowledge where someone can understand. And you'll never know if you spend just a little time talking to a kid about what they like or what they see, or even an adult. You would be surprised at what someone will be fascinated with and would take them to the next level. Sometimes all they need is just a seed planted. If you plant that seed, some children, some adults are just visionaries and they'll take off like a rocket, like a rocket if you just give them a boost. But I want to see what Regina said, a slave to habits and broken lives, slave to past moves. That's so true. Slaves to our flesh or the false peace the world offers. That is so very true. And again, that's why I call that pathology. And so what you have to do as an individual, you have to break that cycle yourself. You have to be the one that say enough. Now, the question becomes, do you have what it takes to say enough? Greetings, Soulfly Noli, the realist. Glad you're here. You have to do that. You have to take the initiative. A lot of times when things happen, you really want to just slap somebody upside the head when everybody say, you should be the bigger person. Well, you don't be a bigger person for somebody else. You be that bigger person for you. It's just like, anger. All anger does is eat away at you. It doesn't affect whoever you're angry at. Has nothing to do with them. Oftentimes, if you wait a little while, you don't even know why you're angry. You don't know what caused it. But for everything, there is a cause and an effect. And that's one of the 7 Hermetic principles. For every good, the opposite of that is bad. That's real. That's true. As it is above, so it is below. Everything ebbs and flows. Everything. Everything moves constantly. It's vibration. And see, a lot of us, we were not even taught vibration and sound. We should have been, but we were not taught cosmology. We were not taught astrology and astronomy. We were not taught those things. We were not taught finances, the basic principles of finances. That's why when most of us get money, it doesn't stay with us long, because we don't understand the principle of how to make it work. And we've never really seen money. I have a small video I made. It's called the Yakum dollar. I don't know if anybody went to see them, but those people made up the silver dollar because according to the Constitution of the United States and for the United States, money is silver and gold. What we grew up in is a fiat system, and the fiat system is a counting system. It only exists on paper. It doesn't exist in reality. And a lot of us have no concept and no clue. That's why most places you go, and especially when you go to other countries and things, everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Thank you, So Fly. You know, we think that they said it's this price, and by George, that's all it is. That's not true. You know, everything is negotiable. But we don't have the fortitude or the wherewithal to even know how to begin to negotiate. We don't have that because we were not given that. It's not that we're incapable of doing it. We invented everything. We're incapable of doing anything. A lot of the history is our history. And it was rewritten because our identities were stolen. We are a misrepresented people, but we are the original people. And if we could ever endeavor to wonder who were we before we were slaves and start just researching with any thought that comes to your mind. You know, we have these things, I say it all the time, these beautiful telephones, we have them. Those are very expensive computers, and we can ask them any question we want. We should do that. I guarantee you, it will bring you to a place where you'll want to know more. At least that's what it did for me. And I used to didn't even like our history because I didn't like the stories that I heard about the slaves and all of that good stuff. If you guys would, please hit the like button for me. I would greatly appreciate it. Share this video, because one day we're all going to be working toward a common goal. People may be divided today, but I guarantee you, pain is going to make us all want to be in the same place. And we're all going to be working toward a common goal. And that's to change the trajectory of our future for our children. Because I am the senior now. And that's what our joke is in our family. All of my cousins and I that are along this age, we're the seniors. And so we need to do what we can to help our young, because one day we're not going to be here. And again, you'll hear me when you don't hear me. But I got to impart something in you so that you can hear me when you don't hear me. Okay, Rap Punk said, our Black athletes and entertainers have buku's bucks. Why haven't they done something? It's because of the system. The same system that Kanye is fighting and Kyrie Irving, and that, you know, when you are afraid, and they were not afraid, and so they're paying the price for it. But when you are afraid to stand for something, then you find yourself caught up in falling for anything. And most people, even the politicians, even the ministers, most people, just look at how they live compared to the people that they serve. And one of the reasons they live like that, because they go along with the system that's in place to keep us in our place. Because remember what I said at the beginning. How can a few rule over many? You divide and conquer them. That's how you do it. So if you're divided and we're fighting amongst each other, then they're doing what they want to do. Well, a lot of the people that have money, or what we call money, that looks like us, most of those people, they want to be the one in that position. So they're not going to do anything to stop them from being in that position. And they're not going to do anything. One moment, please. They're not going to do anything to stop them from living, you know, like the other side. So what they will do is they want their children going to the finest of schools. You know, that is so very true, Tally. A lot of people are. But see, we are the people that made and invented everything. And what they've done is given us something outside of ourselves that's greater than ourselves and stopped us from using our creativity. We don't even think for ourselves anymore. We allow others to think for us. But what we must do is get back into who you are, because some of us are so very creative. We need to demand more from people that broke through. Mm. Okay. Yeah. We need to try our very best to, you know, break the cycle, really. You can't really blame a person who's never had anything and they get something of some substance and they want to maintain it, you know, with every fiber of their being. But what they fail to realize is that it takes a village. It really does. We used to be tribes. We're tribal people. And the village. And we have to police the village, but we have to police it ourselves. And that's another thing that we've gotten away from. There was a time when we all, you know, would look to each other for guidance. If your mom wasn't home, you could go over to your friend's house. And if they were sitting down for dinner, they would even allow you to eat. You know, that used to be a time. Today, you don't even want to let nobody in your house because you don't know if they're going to come in to visit or if they're coming in to rob you of your home. Take the time to read. Okay, let me see. Take the time to read about Community Wall to understand this channel. Okay. No, that's no disrespect. I mean, I don't know, um, especially not mine. It's no disrespect. Well, see, I can't speak on that because I haven't really been following that, but the little that I know, I think that if you know what you know, I don't think that he did anything wrong. See, I think that what we live life, this is me and what I've learned. We live life out of emotions, no matter how cool, calm, and collected we appear to be. But the European live life out of laws, and it's colorable law because the common law is if I do no harm to you and you do no harm to me, no harm has been done. The ordinances, the articles, the acts, all of those are color of law. And if you look in the Black's Law Dictionary, and if you see what the definition of color is in that dictionary, it is something that is not real. It appears to look like what it's supposed to be, but it is not. But when you know who you are, then you set the tone for law in your life. And it's you that make the decisions. So if that's what you stand on and you can stand in it, then you've done the right thing. I am, as I learned, my pedigree is more. I am a more American, indigenous to the land. I'm not talking about an organization, an affiliation, although we have to go through that process in order to be who we are. But our bloodline, the blood that runs through our veins. See, if you meet someone from Africa and you ask them, are they African? And you know what they would tell you? I'm Nigerian. I am whatever country, Kenyan, because they relate to the nation states. Nations comes from nativity, which comes from your mother, which comes from your birth. And we all have the same, we all share the same birthmark, and that's our belly button, because we were tied to our mother through the belly button. And I don't know if y'all, ever heard any of these little sayings. Hi, Cassandra. Greetings. I don't know if y'all heard a lot of these little sayings, but they always talking about water references, navigating through these waters, across the seven seas, uh, bridge over troubled water. Don't, you know, you never miss your water till your well run dry. Maybe about the ship, you waiting on your ship to come in, but you at the airport, so you're going to miss it. Things of that nature. A lot of that is because we're Moors and we navigators of the sea. And we are the land. I really wish y'all would get a Black's Law Dictionary. And if anybody would request it from me through my email, I will send you the PDF file. Free. Nothing. It's just knowledge to be had. It's to be had. But you got to seek it. It doesn't just fall upon us, because everybody is doing everything they can to keep us from having knowledge. This man did not do anything wrong. Nothing. We cannot be anti-Semitic. We can't. There's no way possible. It's just like we can't be atheists. We're tied to the source. But we don't know that. And it's very painful when you start learning truth and you want to share it. Because one thing about truth has no versions. It is what it is. And you're right. You're right, Rab Funk. I'm telling you. But that's only in an illusion, because we've never had money. The money is ours to have, but we don't know who we are, so we don't know how to obtain it. That's a system. And now we're going into the digital system. That's why they want everything digital. Isn't it amazing how we were such brilliant and loving and giving people that we invented everything? And here, in these times today, The only thing that they would say that we invented was cooking up some kind of drug on a stove and selling it to destroy our people. That's the only kind of thing they give us credit for inventing today, when we invented everything. Everything. It's nothing you can think of. It's all about putting in the work. That's really what it's about. Putting in the work. When it's election time, I really don't think, in my opinion, we shouldn't even be voting. But I know people that are running, so I support them. But we could have our own system. And that's what we should be doing. No one has our interests. We don't even have our own interests. The athletes are afraid to help us. They're afraid to help us because if they help us, guess what? They lose endorsements. You know, everybody turned their back on them. They were a hero one day, and the next day, everybody hate them. I'm talking everybody. And you're like, God, how can you go from hero one day to... It happens in every walk of life. It doesn't take much. All it takes is for you to want to help somebody and to do good and right by somebody. And I guarantee you, you become public enemy number one. And that's okay if you just stay on your purpose. Just keep doing what you was put here to do. You can't run no race. It's not about a race. It's about living your best life, being the best you that you can be, being an example for somebody to see, whether they tell you they saw you or not, whether they pat you on your back or not, whether they acknowledge you for who you are. It matters not. I've read many of books, and one of them is What You Think of Me is Really None of My Business. I can make it my business, but then what would they do for me? Nothing. It would probably upset me. It would probably hurt my feelings. But if I go with the premise of who I am, and I am who I say I am, and if I go with the premise of me, I stand alone, then I guarantee you, no weapon in any form can prosper against me. It won't work. It just won't. Because we have to make decisions. And this is what happened to us most of the time. A lot of people think, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. And then when it doesn't turn out the way they thought it was going to turn out, what the people would do? They would come back to you and say, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake. You made a decision. You made a conscious decision to go against whatever it was you knew or thought you should know. But I'm going to read just a little bit about this because my hour is almost up. And let me see, Ryan, let me see what I see. Let me see here. Ooh, so fly. That opinion might cost Kyrie his career and his family's legacy and wealth. It's not worth it. Why bunk? Rap punk. I get what you're saying, honey. He hadn't said anything at all. Yeah, they're punishing him just for suggesting something, showing something. And that's the way a system is. I don't know if y'all seen my community wall, but, I have a post out there, and I said the only way that evil can triumph is good men do nothing. And that's oftentimes what happens. Everybody say that's not my problem. It's not my, nothing to deal with. And that's okay until it's you. One thing I learned, and I knew the saying, and used to say it, and it was real cute. Hunting ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun. But then you come to yourself. You take your power, and you take that gun, and you let the rabbit do what he do with the gun, and you do what you do with your life. And you be you. Never reduce you below your dignity. Never do that. Especially not on the World Wide Web. We got babies looking up to us, and they're going to be seeing this when we're gone. We're going to leave a legacy. We're going to leave something behind. Something like our parents never could. They didn't have the opportunity to leave us video. Some did, Most didn't. And so you want to know, what are you going to represent when they look at you? Rap funk. But African Americans are not destitute, sis. Our core culture has been eroded, but our presence is valid. African Americans still own American sports and entertainment. That focus needs to be smarter. The only way that that will happen is if they all could come in solidarity and all of them walk out. That's the only way that's going to happen, because they are the entertainment and the sports. But you're not going to get everybody to work together for a common good. We haven't seen anything like that since Marcus Garvey. We got close with Martin Luther King. But again, it goes back to that mentality that I was speaking of. And that brings me to my presentation that I wanted to share right quick. I wanted to share, this is a Willie Lynch letter. And it's a section that I wanted to read. It's just a section I wanted to read. He was telling them, let me see. Let me go back this page here. Okay. He said, in my bag here, I have foolproof method of controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences, and on the top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences. I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generation for hundreds. And I was thinking it would say for hundreds of years, but maybe it would let me go down. I don't know. But on that note, we're getting real close to my 1 hour mark. And so I will be getting ready to close out. But I see this down here, but I'm not seeing, and it won't let me bring it up. That line down there at the bottom, I can't bring it up. It won't let me move it up and down. But you get the picture. So when you realize that that's what we're dealing with, greetings, ass. When you realize this is what we're dealing with, this type of mentality all over, not just then, now, it's working still in operation today. And so that's what it's all about. It's about us knowing who we are and unapologetically being who we are, walking in our truth and not emulating others. So I want to say, oh, well, you can't emulate somebody that's doing great. Please. We need mentors. We really do. We need them. And we need mentors to be in our home. They need to start at home. You don't necessarily have to go out and find a mentor. I want to thank everybody for showing up, staying with me for this hour. I greatly appreciate it. The waters has been tumultuous for me, but I am well, and I thank everybody for being here. Please come back on Sunday. I promise to have a great show for you. And please hit the like button if you haven't hit it already. Leave a comment if you like, and share the video. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to my channel, and even consider becoming a member. I have membership supposedly as low as 99 cents, and it was approved by YouTube. But when I looked at my membership, I didn't see where it offered the 99 cents membership. So I don't know if that's something, a glitch or something. I'll try to find out. But I have membership from $99, $199, $299, $399, $999, and $24.99. And what a membership is, it would just help me as I try to build this channel. I won't have nothing elaborate or anything, but, it just helps defray the cost of paying for our everyday needs that we have, like the StreamYards and things to bring you a great thing. I'm not great with the computer, so I don't know the beautiful editing and all that kind of stuff. I just do the best I can. And so I want to thank everybody for coming and spending this evening with me. And again, if anybody would like the book, Silent Weapons, it's a PDF file, the Black Henry Campbell Law Dictionary. Just email me at toothlesstiger, there at the bottom, 7@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. And again, consider becoming a member. And as you all know, I'm going to do my Tina Marie. Did I speak to you? Greetings, Tina. I think I just saw you. Greetings. But as you all know, did I answer your question, Rab, before I go? Do I justify it? No, I think that a man has the right to make whatever decision they decide to make. It's his and his alone. That's what I believe. But, we live and learn. Thank you. I appreciate that, Web. And I'm going to get ready to leave the Tiger's Den. So if you guys would, please hit like, share, and come back. I love each of you, and thank you so very much. Goodbye. Now I got to find my little music. Here we go.
This video was made for education and entertainment purposes only. There's no malice or ill intent from the content creator. So please like, share, and subscribe, and have a great evening. Good night.